This is how much we have left. Not very much at all. I remember when it was like this. Now we're here. And we have good deeds. Offer to run an errand for someone. Now, this one, I can say I am the grand master of, especially with my boyfriend, because anytime his car needs service, I know that is an incredibly dreadful thing for him to try to incorporate into his schedule. So, what I do is I try to anticipate or rather accommodate an admin work day in which I have to just do stuff from my computer, do correspondence or just anything that's been pending that involves my computer, just go ahead and own it. And usually, when I am done with those kinds of things, which usually takes me within an hour, hour and a half out of the 4 or 5 hours that I'm going to spend in the waiting room during those service days, the rest of that time, I may kill it by replying to the comments here, or I will do promotions from my computer, and then on my phone I will start exploring music that maybe I have on my saved later, which by the way, I haven't forgotten about that night that we streamed and y'all were giving me suggestions for music to check out, and I said that I would react to. I just gotta find a good time for that, but it's coming. Those kinds of things, anything that involves my computer, I find myself being excited about using my actual computer when I'm out of the house, because maybe before we had Wi-Fi here at home, I used to have to take it with me to the library. Anything that required, I guess, a lot of power when it comes to data, I needed to go to the library or Starbucks or just somewhere with really good Wi-Fi. And I guess I got so used to that now that I associated my computer as an adventure time. And here at home, now that I do have the Wi-Fi, I find myself using other devices more. And my phone usage, it's about the same. That I like to offer to do it because I know that for him, in his case, he really doesn't have a very good time to incorporate it based on what his goals are. Like, for instance, he works 5 days a week, and in addition to working 5 days a week on his days off, he's working on the side as well. It's kind of like me, except that I get an extra day off, and on my extra day off, I make it a thing that if I'm going to sacrifice my status as a worker to have the extra day off, then I am going to commit to allowing myself to have a day off that I can waste and not feel guilty about it. By waste, I mean I don't have to be super productive. I don't have to be super focused on my side stuff. I don't have to obsess over cleaning the house immediately afterward. I try to push anything that is light or resembling a more relaxed task. I like to reserve it for that third day off. And for me, when I have to service my car, it usually doesn't burden me as bad as it used to now because I'm only responsible for my car. It only started upsetting me when mom also wanted for me to take care of hers. And I don't want to sound like I was refusing to do it, but at the time that mom was asking me for that, I was in a very vulnerable time. I needed to work as many hours as possible, and I also needed to get serious about starting something for me on the side, given that at my job, my opportunity for advancement at the time was super limited and super rare to come by. Nowadays, the situation is so critical, they're so desperate that at any time, if I wanted to, I could move the fuck up. But I don't want to because now it's not a good time. My good time was back in the good old days. But now, with the way things have changed and the direction that things have taken, I don't think it's worth it. And the kind of lifestyle that I have, which is low stress, low demand, is not supported by moving up. The more you move up, the more you have to say goodbye to your, I guess, personal quests. And to me, that's not negotiable. It was just an unfortunate timing with mom trying to support her with that, but at least I can say that I did it more than a handful of times. And it was just one of those things that I guess she caught me during a vulnerable building phase for me. And I have zero regrets. I did what I could, I did it when I could. And then with my boyfriend, it's I can help him most of the time, but sometimes I outright don't even offer because I know that it's not going to be a very good time for me. But if for some reason I see him overwhelmed and not getting around to it, then I'll do what I can to accommodate it for him. But I only do it if I'm sure that I can afford to lose that time over there. But if it's a week when it's kind of tight, then my third day off becomes one in which I still have to do a little extra work, or maybe I have to do housekeeping in the house. I count housekeeping in the house as work because, I mean, that is unpaid work that I'm doing for myself. If it's going to take me away from my ability to make extra money, I count it as having to work because it is a task, it is a physical activity. Now, recreation is anything that I'm doing for my entertainment or relaxation purposes only. That I don't have to, of course, accommodate for or tally up in any kind of way. But other things that take me away from physically resting, you better believe I count it as work time. No matter how simple it is. Let it be the dishes, sweeping, cleaning the bathroom. All that shit adds up because those are things that I may do at my job. I may have to clean. I may have to sweep. I may have to clean break rooms and restrooms and all that. Not often, but sometimes I do when I have time because the business might be a little dead, which nowadays it's rare that the business is dead. But that's where I learned to balance. And unfortunately, that's where I developed resentment for my home existence because I'm thinking I just came back from work to come here and do more fucking work. Work never ends, and I'm not bothered by that. I'm just bothered by how it's difficult to manage because I have essentially 3 jobs and being an adult, home maintenance, and other affairs that you may have pending. It just requires time, and I'm not someone who particularly can pretend to enjoy that shit. With that said, I give myself that flexibility to support them because I know how frustrating it can be. And even if I don't particularly get anything in return ever for it, I look at it as, well, at least I can get this worry off their hands. Also, because it's a vehicle getting attention, I look at it as I'm ensuring their safety. But outside of that, other random errands, occasionally if my boyfriend needs something, then I'll help him with it, like pick up an ingredient for him that he mentioned he ran out of and has to go to a store. If I'm already out, then if I remember, I might as well just own it and then I'll let him know so he doesn't buy another one, something like that. If there's anything that's simple at all that I can get off someone's hands, I'll just do it. And in return, the one thing I once in a while occupy my boyfriend with, I want to say maybe 2-3 times a year, is I will send him to the post office if I am getting off late and I cannot anticipate being able to squeeze going to the post office to eat something and then go to the gym. If I'm going to have to sacrifice eating just to have time to make it here and have zero chill out time and just pack up and go to the gym, then that's when I'll send him. But if it's something that I can just own really quickly because I get off early enough, then it doesn't represent a burden. Those little things. Or if it's generally a difficult week and I feel like the next day may be another day when I'm getting off late, but I need the package to leave on time because I don't like to keep a package waiting for more than 1 day unless it's out of my control, like say a Sunday, then fine. Or like one of those fucking holidays where sometimes I get a ton of sales that I cannot ship until 2 days later because there's a fucking holiday the next day, something like that. But yeah, this one is one of those that I can say I do pretty good with. I just wait for the situation to come up, and if it aligns with what I'm doing already, then sure, I can offer. But it's one of those things that you go a long time observing people and observing your own established routine, and then you figure that there's some things that you can just pick up for them. Well, there you guys have it. That's it from me. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know what are the errands that you find yourself running for others very often. I imagine that if I were living with my family, say as close to my family as my brother is, they would be occupying my time a lot because pretty much all of the people I knew, I grew up with, were old, and now they're older and with medical necessities. So there is guaranteed going to be a lot of occupying me and my resources, like giving them rides to places, doctor appointments, and everything. And sometimes I think, how would that work for me? What kind of job would I have? Probably the same. But just because I was able to score the schedule that I've given myself over here doesn't mean that that is transferable if I go elsewhere. But I definitely anticipate that my grandma on my mom's side would have definitely tried to make me more of her housekeeper, because the last time I saw her, the first comment she made after I had been gone for so many years was, "You have a great body that could work for cleaning the house," things like that. And I was like, currently I am here as a tourist. I am here as a visitor. But in the event you need help, then next time you find out I'm coming, let me know that that's what you want to do with me or to me, and I can prepare. I just told her, because it's the fucking truth, you know. I didn't go there, especially as a teenager, to be occupied with bullshit. And I'm not saying this to say that I wouldn't be willing to help my grandma, understanding her situation as an elderly, but I'm just saying that you're doing that to me because I'm your relative. If it were one of her little friends who she's always had around and she likes to leave good impressions on, she wouldn't have said any of that. So she's only doing that to me because I'm the granddaughter, I'm younger, and I'm a woman. Try saying that to a man and see what happens. And the reason I say it like that is because the men that she has in her life would be her sons, and they're the very sons who were mad at my mom being overwhelmed that they had to take care of her as an elder, and my mom was far away from them, and they were hoping that back in their young days in the future, they were counting on my mom to take over exclusively for that responsibility. My mom's career, her children, her quests, her personal matters, they were never taken into account because she looked like she might have had the simpler life. And I'm like, if anything, my older uncle is the one who had the simpler life because he never had kids. He married a woman who already had kids. Therefore, she didn't want any more kids. So come on, bro. But for some reason, when it comes to the men, at least in my family, the expectation on them is significantly lower. I'm not saying that they don't help ever. They do. I have seen it. But I'm saying that when it comes to how time, respective personal time is respected, it's a different story from male relative to female relative. And I wasn't about to let that happen to me. No. And now, as an adult myself, sure, I don't have a serious career, but consider why I don't have the serious career. Maybe y'all too are part of the problem. Maybe y'all were also the ones who didn't contribute or ask about what my plan was, how I'm doing, how to help me fulfill my goals. Maybe you were hoping that I didn't have any goals so that I would end up with something simple, so that simple equals I can be occupied. Or maybe even if I would have had the career consuming my time, you were still going to find ways to minimize it because as a woman, well, my achievements cannot ever be as impressive as a man's, and the man is supposed to be the one out there working. And I would tell them the bad news that unfortunately my reality is as a child, through adolescence, through adulthood now, I've been fucking poor. And poverty is stressful. It is a serious situation. And it's not one that y'all were exactly alleviating. So don't get in my way. Period. Be grateful that I even visit. I go decades without visiting nowadays. Doesn't that tell you something? Anyways, again, not to throw shade on them, not to hate on them. Maybe they have had time to reflect on those things. But my grandma, last time I saw her, they demonstrated to me that their attitude and behavior hasn't changed. Even prior to that, a lot of time had passed and they still had the same attitude. And that side of the family is one known for how conservative they are, how they hold on to their values. They rarely change. They're really fixated on themselves. So, like, what chance do I have? And I still feel bad because as a kid, I always envisioned that, yeah, I'm gonna grow up and have my car and be able to visit everyone when I want to. But then we had to move. And after that, during the time that I was saying all those things, my family dynamic was different. My grandfather was still alive, and he was essentially the manager of the family. Once he left the picture, once he passed on, everything fell apart. Stuff was beginning to kind of fall apart, and it aligns with the time that he began to fall ill. But after he left, it was like everyone is on their own. And with my grandma, both grandmas, because I still have my paternal grandma as well, I think about them and I'm like, there's going to come a day in which they're going to be absent from here too. And I may lament that as an adult, I didn't get to hang out with them much. But hey, I did not choose these circumstances. And it is difficult to pull yourself out of this on your own with the circumstances that I inherited. I cannot regret that. I cannot feel bad about what I am, who I am, my reality, and blame myself for it when these issues, these are curses running through the family since before I was even conceived. Now I'm embodying the consequences of that. And even my brother has exhibited some of those consequences. And with my grandparents, I just look at it as whatever time I had with them when I was a kid, I embraced it. I took advantage of it, enjoyed it the best I could based on my mentality as a kid back in those days. But as an adult, I still have those memories and I can reflect back on them and be like, okay, I had an idea of what I wanted it to be. I had the idea of what it could have been, but I have the experience of what it actually is. And I can't combat that. And even mom, now that she has reunited with them, she has expressed that stuff has minimally changed anyway, just as anticipated. And grandma, she's nice and all, but her dynamic with mom is one that it has its up and downs. It never has extreme ups. It has many downs, but I think that grandma just can't help it at that point. It's just the way she is. And I know that the way she is would clash with the way that I am. And it was already beginning to clash the last time I saw her many years ago. And she was harmless all in all because of where my mind was. But I hated the fact that those things happened at all. Anyway, maybe one day I'll create a new chapter on my living without a family topic and dive a little deeper on where I'm at. Because a lot of you guys who have been new now or maybe revisiting that topic have been asking where I'm at nowadays. And I always tell you that, hey, my life really hasn't changed much, but I'm getting by. Anyway, that's it. Bye.